Fall's here, so that means it's time for another everyday carry update. I've got some really fun changes from the past few months to talk about, so let's just get straight into it. First up is a new watch I got a few months ago. This is the VERO Forest Service Edition Hotshot Field Watch. A ton of you have asked about this. I've been wearing it in videos for the past few months. I've been obsessed with it. I'm a sucker for anything Smokey Bear or Forest Service branded. I love this yellow color, and it's been missing from my lineup of digital Casios or analog regular watches. And this is kind of the ultimate perfect hybrid of my two favorite styles. Going over some of the basic specs here though, it's a 39mm case with a 42.5mm lug-to-lug measurement. It uses a Seiko PX28A kinetic movement, and this is a new type of movement for me. It's essentially a blend of quartz and automatic. So it's an automatic movement that powers a quartz crystal. It's kind of the best of both worlds. You get all the fun of an automatic or mechanical watch, but you get a really long standby life. It's up to 6 months of standby battery that builds up with the kinetic movement. It's a stainless steel body with Cerakote on the exterior. It's supposed to be like anti-scratch or anti-buff. I've been beating this thing up for several months now. I do have one little nick on the exterior of the body here, but otherwise it's held up really well. Even have little bull bars on here, which is great. It has 120 meters or 400 feet of water resistance. It has a flat AR coated sapphire crystal for the display. You know, this sort of thick round watch with a really flat display, I think gives it a really unique and cool look. You know, it's small but chunky at the same time. Also, most likely for the water resistance, it's a screw down crown, and then the outer bezel is actually on the interior of the watch. So it is still a rotating bezel, but built in on the interior of the case. So really unique design that I haven't seen anywhere else. Now, VERO is actually here with me in Portland, Oregon. They were founded in 2015. I've had my eye on them for several years now and was really excited to get my hands on one to test and share. You know, it's become my favorite watch of this entire summer. I really love this yellow look. I think the standout colors for the watches, you know, comes from my love of Casios. I love my orange NASA G-Shock as well, but they do have some more subdued options as well, all with the Forest Service, you know, firefighting type of theme. This one's the Hotshot. They also have the Air Tanker, the Ranger, and Service Green. Design on the watch face is pretty straightforward, like a typical field watch. You do have a date complication at the 3 o'clock, and then you have that exterior rotating bezel, and then you just have the normal, you know, numerals that go around. There is some lume built in here. It's a little bit weaker than I would like it to be for something that's meant to be like rugged, outdoorsy. I'd love some super strong lume. It's good enough, but you know, I think it could be a little bit better. Other than that though, I just love this watch so much. Like I said, I feel like it's a blend of my love of, you know, digital Casios and G-Shocks with, you know, more analog mechanical type of watches. It's kind of the perfect hybrid in style and function of both. The looks are such a standout too. The first time I wore this months ago, I had someone stop me. I was at a tap room with a friend and they wanted to take a picture with their VERO watch. So it definitely seems like a cult following type of thing. Might be a little biased because we are here in Portland with VERO, but nonetheless, super cool watch, super unique design, you know, really functional. I love the Forest Service theme, you know, all in all, a definite favorite in the collection. Next up is another big upgrade. This is the brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max. As of recording, I've only had this for about 48 hours, so I can't really speak to a full review at this point, but I can definitely speak to my initial impressions, and specifically someone coming from the 14 Pro Max. First off, I love the titanium. I love this natural titanium color. You know, not new for this year, but definitely new for me. This is my first non-black iPhone, I think, since the iPhone 6, so that was kind of a fun change. It's much softer than the 14, you know, holding it in your hands, it feels much more rounded, and the titanium just has a much softer feel compared to the stainless. The battery life and charging have also been really great. The battery life is completely insane, and then when I am recharging, they actually have 25-watt recharging with the new MagSafe cables, which is awesome. And then for wired, I think you can get up to 35 or 40 watts through USB-C. Those are really the only normal person types of changes for it at this point. And if you're coming from a 15, it's definitely not worth it. And if you're coming from something earlier, you know, it really just depends on your situation. For me, I think the biggest thing outside of the charging and the battery life and, you know, the new look and everything was the updated camera features. You know, from the 15 and the 16 moving into this year, you know, having ProRes log on here is really great. Having USB-C to plug in an external drive or to transfer files off is also really great for me, super niche case scenario, but I use my phone for the YouTube channel all the time, and trying to airdrop clips, especially if I'm doing ProRes, I'll sit there for like 2 or 3 hours to get 5 minutes of footage off of my phone when I'm going to edit clips that I took with my phone. So having that faster connectivity and having the better video features is awesome. Camera quality for photos has been somewhat disappointing. I would say it's about the same as my 14, just in my initial gut reaction of everything, but the video quality is definitely improved along with the extra features there. So if you're someone that shoots a lot of video, especially in a professional or semi-professional setting like this, it might be worth the upgrade. For a lot of people, it's probably going to be underwhelming. I don't personally care about the delay with the AI stuff. I don't use a lot of AI things day to day, but I was mostly interested in just those quality of life upgrades with USB-C, the better battery, and the better camera stuff. And for that, I've been super satisfied with it. Definitely looking forward to diving in, and I potentially have a few videos around the new phone coming up. Let me know if you're interested in that. Really quick though, before we get into our next item, I want to take a minute to thank Anker SOLIX for sponsoring this week's video and introduce you to the C1000 power station here. You've all heard me rave about the F2000 power station for the better part of a year now. Anker sent out their smaller, more compact C1000 here for me to test and try, and it has been really great. It offers a lot of the functionality of my larger F2000, but in a much smaller form factor and a much lower price, and actually a couple of extra features in here as well. It has 1,056 watt hours of capacity and is expandable up to 2,112 watt hours with the expansion battery. It has 1,800 watts of output with a 2,400 watt surge protection, so that's going to cover basically any appliance or device you can think of. It's the same amount of wattage of my entire home circuit for my home office, so I could plug the entire office into this with headroom to spare. Just to interrupt really quick, I plugged my entire studio into the C1000 to prove the point. I have my entire desk with a game running and my gaming PC. I have my editing laptop going as well. I have all the studio lights running. I have my 3D printer in the corner. I have stuff charging. I have hard drives. I have networking stuff. Everything's running with about 50% headroom in here, and it also doubles up as a UPS, so I can keep everything plugged into that if I wanted to, and if I ever have a power outage, everything will continue to run. It's a really cool system. That could be its main feature alone. Finding a UPS power supply with this amount of wattage is very difficult to come by for like residential type of use like this. And in fact, it's just an extra feature on top of all the other things is really great. Having a power station like this has completely revamped how I car camp. You've all seen over the past few years, I've done some silly stuff, winter camping with an electric space heater. I set up my entire desk to get work done in game out near Mount Hood a couple of months ago. Being able to run an electric fridge, run an electric hot plate if you don't want to use a gas stove or have fire restrictions, being able to stay off grid longer instead of more established campgrounds with electric hookups. The possibilities go on and on for any outdoor activities or fun with these. I've had such a blast using a power station over the past year with the F2000. Now, having something that is a smaller form factor and a little bit lighter weight has been even better in some cases. It's also really nice to have these around the home in between camping trips for power outages and emergency situations. It has super fast recharge time. It can go up to 100% in 58 minutes. You can also charge with solar up to 600 watts. That'll get you a full charge in 1.8 hours. Use lithium iron phosphate batteries. They have a 10-year lifespan. They're rated for 3,000 charge cycles. Overall build quality is excellent. Anker's always been really dependable and reliable for me. You have a 5-year warranty as well. And I almost forgot to mention you can control all of the features with this with a smartphone app that works great. I've used it a ton and I've talked about it before for the F2000. Same type of thing here for the C1000. All in all, if you're looking for something to really open up the possibilities for camping trips, emergency situations around the home, check this out. They're running some really great deals for Prime Day right now, so be sure to check the links down below in the description. Huge thanks again to Anker SOLIX for sponsoring this week's video. Next up is my wallet. This is the Pioneer Carry Molecule card holder. If you've been around the channel for a long time, you might remember seeing this a few years back. They actually made some changes with a new fabric, so I wanted to check out the new fabric. This style has always been one of my favorites, and I'm a huge fan of Pioneer Carry for their travel pouches as well. But this is just a really simple, bare bones, but extremely high quality card holder wallet. Very simple layout and design. You have one card slot on each side and then a center slot for cash or additional cards. They advertise that it holds 6+ cards. I think 4+ is a little little bit more realistic from my experience. I like to keep one on each side and then a couple on the interior with a couple of trifold bills. Like I said though, the new changes are actually in the fabric. This is their new baby ballistic nylon. So it's kind of that really beefy, burly ballistic nylon that we're all familiar with in a ton of other applications, but kind of shrunk down. So a really, kind of fine, smaller texture in comparison. So you get a lot of that really extreme durability, but a little bit of a finer, more appropriate application for a wallet here. Obviously water resistant with the baby ballistic nylon. It only weighs 1 ounce or 28 grams. The color I have here is called Robusta. So it's kind of a darker desaturated brown. I love the look of it, Robusta like the coffee, I'm assuming. They have a few other colors on the website as well. Stitching is completely immaculate. They have these really big bar tacks on either side, which is great to see. And the only real branding here, it says Pioneer Carry, USA 2016 on the front. So nice and classy and minimal branding. I'm a huge fan of what Pioneer Carry has been doing for the last several years. Really great fabrics, just really simple, straightforward designs, really well built. I think that speaks to most of us around here. Next up is my pocket knife. This is the Tactile Rockwood Thumbstud Tanto. I usually do mostly budget blades around here, but when I go all out, I really do. I've had this thing for 2 or 3 months now and just absolutely love it. It's one of the nicest and fanciest knives I've ever had the pleasure of testing, and it definitely shows in the overall build quality and feel and fit and finish and everything. Going over some of the basics here, Tactile is based in Dallas, Texas. They do all of their manufacturing and machining there as well. Total length is 6.91 inches. It's 4 inches closed with a 2.92 inch Tanto blade. The blade is where things get a little crazy for me. This is a Magna Cut steel blade. I've never had the chance to try a Magna Cut steel blade before. Out of all the knife steels, it's kind of one that breaks the rules a little bit, where you get something that is incredibly tough, but also has really good edge retention. Most commonly, I'm using blades with the 14C28N or the S35V. This kind of combines what I love about both of those steels. You're definitely going to pay for it. This is one of the more expensive knives I've ever tested at $329, but made in America, really high quality materials. The scales here are made of titanium. All of the machining here is excellent. It is a beautiful, simple design. I'm a sucker for Tanto blades as well. It's definitely been a real pleasure to test this one out. Tactile sent it to me earlier in the year. Out of all of the expensive knives I've tested, this is the one where I definitely get it. Next up, I've got a new flashlight. This is the RovyVon E30 Pro. I haven't tested anything from RovyVon in quite some time, so it was nice diving back in with something like this. It's a very similar shape to like the Olay Arcfield or the Nightcore EDC 27. Those are two of my favorites. I'm a really big fan of this form factor. Touching on some of the basics, scale came in at 102 grams. It's 35 lumens max in the turbo mode. It's a 3000 milliamp hour battery with up to 67 hours of battery life in the low mode. USB-C rechargeable, IPX8 waterproof, no dust rating for this unfortunately, but I assume it's going to be fine for most normal applications. And the color I have here is called Marble. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure what this material is, whether it's like a coating or it's the actual material itself. There is unfortunately little info on the RovyVon website, but it is really great. It's super textured. It almost feels like a soft touch, but I don't think it's actually soft touch. I think it's just this really nice, soft, matte type of feel. Almost feels like Cerakote, like the VERO watch, kind of a similar feel to it. Getting into some of the actual flashlight functions here though, there are a few features that I really like. First off, they have a proximity sensor on here. So if you're running this on high mode or turbo and pointing at something really up close, it'll actually turn down to prevent glare, prevent wasting power. It's kind of a neat little feature. I wasn't really sure how I would feel about it at first, but it's worked really well for me. The other thing as well, you have 3 different side lights. You have a normal warm white, but you also get a red and a UV light, and there's a dedicated side light button on here, which is a really nice touch to have that kind of separate control since there are separate functions to the different bulbs. Checks pretty much all the boxes for me. It's plenty bright, definitely overkill for me. I love the addition of the UV and the red light. I love the overall look and feel in this sort of shape and form factor. My only real complaint with this is the kind of operation with the switches. It's a little bit more complicated than I think it needs to be because you have 2 separate switch buttons on the top here, and you have have the separate side light switch. I think the side light switch is fine, but I would like to see, maybe a revamping of these top switches, because it took me a while to get used to and learn this light, much more so than most of the lights I'm testing for the channel. All in all though, I think this holds its own just fine compared to Nightcore with the EDC27 or the Olay Arc Field. Like I said, those are two of my favorites. So check this one out if you're interested in something different, or you just really like this kind of different marbly coating. I thought it was really cool. The price is pretty good at $99, kind of right in line with the rest of the competition here. Got a fresh pair of sunglasses I've been testing for the last month or so. These are the Walden Woods. Very simple, straightforward type of design. These don't have the crazy, functionality with the lenses like I talked about the Shinzo Tamiras last time. Those are still kind of a GOAT, S tier for me right now. But these just have such a great classic look and a really great build quality. Maybe not as fancy on the front of the lenses, but definitely, no slouch when it comes to everything else. They're polarized. They're made with a recycled steel and bioacetate, and they just have this really kind of classic look with the diamonds on the sides. They're also a little bit more flat compared to a lot of the Wayfarer shapes. A lot of times we'll have a little bit more of a curve to them. So these kind of are almost completely flat on the face, which I think kind of give it that more old-timey, 50s, 60s type of look. Also just really love the color here. It's kind of a brown or olive green type of color with a transition to a lighter color on the bottom of the frames. If you're looking for something just super classic, kind of mid-century look, build quality is really excellent, and I think they look great too. Got the holdover and repeat items next. I'm just going to try and rapid fire through because I'm sure you've all heard of them before. I have my smart health tracking ring. This is from Ultrahuman. I've had this for this entire year pretty much. I think I got it in February, maybe a little bit before. I can't remember exactly, but I really love it. It's held up well. They continue to just blast their app with updates. Every other week they're adding something new in there, which is great. I had a slight hiccup with some of the firmware causing battery drain a month or so ago, but they patched it up really quick. They seem to just generally be on top of it, and they just continue to add more and more features. And it's just really great to have something like this without a monthly subscription like the Aura. I haven't personally tried the Aura, so maybe it would be worth it or not. But I've been really satisfied with this, and I really like that you don't have to pay every month for it. Got my hat as well. This is the Best in the West hat from Sendero. Huge fan of all the Sendero hats, but this one's just really been hitting the spot the last few weeks, so I figured I would throw in here for the update. I've really amassed quite the collection. I should do a video at some point of all of my hats, but nonetheless, Sendero, check them out. Really fun designs, really great quality and everything too. My headphones, I actually am testing a different pair of headphones, but I can't really talk about them quite yet, so stay tuned in the coming weeks. I'll be touching on those soon, but I always also use my AirPods. These are the AirPods Pro 2. Still have the Lightning port, unfortunately, but I have a few customizations that I always like to mention. The case here is from Caudabe. It's the Mezzo case. Really great quality and texture with the material that they're using on their cases. I've been a big fan, talked about those a bunch. And then on the actual headphones themselves, I always swap out for foam ear tips. I think they sound way better and fit way better in my ears than the normal silicone ones. I've got the king of key organizers. This is the Jibbon. I think it holds 2 to 9 keys in total. What makes this a little bit different from most of the others that kind of look similar to this is it is a completely toolless design. So if you need to swap or take out keys more often than normal, it makes it really easy to do so. Build quality is great. Leather quality has been great. I've had it for a few years. It's definitely darkened up and patinaed. I think it looks really great. But yeah, definitely my favorite after several years of testing every one I could find. It might be time for a refresher though to see what else is out there because I haven't looked much in the past couple of years. I've got my handkerchief and my microfiber. Handkerchief is from Vala Alta. They are Irish linen handkerchiefs. A little bit better than cotton in a few ways. It dries faster, it absorbs more, antimicrobial. I've been a huge fan of these for a long time. They teased me that they were making some bigger ones a couple of years ago, and I haven't heard or seen anything about them since. So hopefully they come out with a larger size. That's my only real complaint. These are 12-inch by 12-inch. Would love to see 16-inch by 16-inch. I think would be perfect for me. Got my microfibers always with me for my glasses or electronics, but generally glasses. These were Koala cloth. Nothing special about them. They were just the only ones that weren't terrible on Amazon after finding and trying like half a dozen different ones a while back. Really good if you need some microfibers. And lastly, I almost forgot to put it on the table. I've got my sling bag. This is the Bellroy Lite sling. Love the Lite series a ton. This is the clay color here. Fabric feels really nice. It kind of has a more organic type of feel. You have waterproof zips on here. It holds a ton, super minimal organization as well. So you can kind of lay it out however you need. So if you want to use it for hiking or just like everyday carry stuff or travel stuff for a travel day, just very, very versatile in what you can do with it. It continues to be a go-to for me. But that is actually going to wrap it up for this video. Hopefully you all had a good couple of weeks while I was out. Vacation went by much faster than anticipated. I actually went up to Washington to visit North Cascades National Park. Had a great time. Got some relaxing in. I've been deep into a Satisfactory playthrough on my new PC with the 1.0 launch. Let me know if anyone's playing that or if anyone's into PC games in general. After doing my PC build, I've been a bit obsessed lately. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.